much. So glad to be here today. And I have a little bio for Chris that I'd like to read for you. After arguably the most successful first year by a Southeastern Conference head baseball coach, Chris Lemonis begins his third season as the leader of the MSU baseball program. The 18th head coach in the storied history of the program, he's no stranger to Starkville, as he resided on campus as a newborn during his father Thomas's time as a student at State. His father was a 1973 Mississippi State graduate with a degree in electrical engineering. In his first season at the helm of the Diamond Dogs, Lemonis became the winningest first-year head coach in SEC history, and in the process led the 2019 edition to the second most victories in the program history, and set the tone for State's second straight trip to the College World Series. Lemonis became one of just 3 SEC head coaches to advance to the College World Series in their inaugural season. To my Ole Miss friends, do you know who one of the others was? I believe it was Jake Gibbs. Lemonis and his wife, Jill, have 2 daughters, Marissa and Mackenzie. The Myrtle Beach, South Carolina native earned his Bachelor of Science in Physical Ed from the Citadel and received his Master of Arts in Sports Management in 1994. Coach, we're glad to have you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say today.
All right. Thank you for the nice intro, Tom. Yeah, these never get easy, these Zoom calls. I know we're all ready to get back to a chicken dinner at lunch and hanging out and seeing people. And, you know, as a coach, this is one of the hardest things that we're having to deal with is we know during this time you're going to have to be the closest team you've ever been and have the best culture that you've ever been, because the journey is so different for us right now. I mean, it's for people in work, people at home, my kids. It's just, you know, different times. And to have that really, really close team, and then you have to tell them every 10 minutes, separate, wear your mask, you know, be careful, don't hang out in each other's apartments. It's been a crazy year. I'm going to kind of run down probably the last year is kind of what I've done and let you know where we're at and where we've been and kind of what's ahead of us here in the next couple, you know, months that's ahead. Don't ask me about tickets because our whole fan base is mad about tickets and I have nothing to do about it. So we're doing everything we can to open the ballpark. And as the government lets us, our people are working tirelessly for, you know, to get all those fans. You can imagine we want you there in our ballpark as well as the other baseball schools in our state. But, you know, and at the very end, I will stay on as long as you guys have questions. So we can take questions from you at that point. But to track this back, you know, we were playing down in Biloxi over spring break. We played down there at the Pro Park, and we were playing Texas Tech, who was number 2 in the country at the time. And we were up and down a little bit early. We'd had some major injuries, but we were still top 10, and we were able to sweep in a sold out ballpark there in Biloxi for those 2 nights. And I remember after the second game and everybody's excited, and you walk in and our sports information director tells us, kind of gives me a heads up of what's, you know, coming down. And when he said the NBA was canceled, I was kind of like, uh-oh, you know, it's, man, that's not good for any of us. And as this time has gone on, we've learned a lot in the last year. Hopefully we've grown a lot, but as a ball club and how this crazy year has affected us, we went into the draft last year and we lose 2 first-rounders. Jordan Westberg and Justin Foscue were both first-rounders for us, which was exciting. But MLB had made the draft really small. So they went from a 40-round draft to a 5-round draft, and we actually had JT Ginn go in the second round and get over $3 million. So we lose 3 guys for probably about a total of $10 million, and we're looking up at our team, and we don't know what we got. Fortunately, they let all the seniors come back. So all our seniors are back with us. We had 4 senior pitchers come back and join us. That'll help us be in a pretty good spot. We also, you know, where it really hit the SEC is we had all these kids show up to campus that usually we probably would have signed. So we have a couple other nice players in our class that showed up, and we feel like maybe in a normal year they wouldn't have have made it to campus. As we got back, it's been up and down. We were here about 3 weeks, and we had to go through a whole 2-week quarantine. We got our full fall in. We got a 6-week period on the field. We're using 3 different locker rooms right now, and you got to spread out in the dugouts. You'll see that as the season starts coming up. We'll look like the MLB a little bit, trying to figure out, where we're at and what we're doing. But we'll be spread out in a pretty good spot. And then they've come back. They went home at Thanksgiving, and usually they come back for a couple of weeks, but we lost them for about 50 days there over the winter. I give our kids a lot of credit. They came back, man, they're in shape. They're ready to go. Pretty much where we were when we left out of here in the fall, which, the kids are having to take a lot of responsibility for their work right now. Their day-to-day is a lot more without us than with us. I think at one point they had practiced more without their coaches than with their coaches, which sounds crazy, but, just kind of where we're at in this day and time. But they've done a really good job. We have been practicing now. We are starting week 2 of our preseason practice, and we play in about 2 weeks. So we've had 2 weekends of scrimmages and being able to get outside. We've been outside every day, even though the weather upcoming week, our last week of scrimmages looks like it's going to be snowing, which is never good for a baseball coach. But we're going to have we're trying to get as many innings as we can right now. We're trying to get as many at-bats as we can right now to try to build the volume up so these kids are ready to get started. This group, we have our recruiting class that's here right now. We brought in a really special group. Our group is they're ranked inside the top 10 in the country, anywhere from 6, 7, 8. So we have some really special players that are coming in and going to give us a chance to help us out. Some of those guys, we have 4 pitchers that I think are going to be really special guys that in their time here in Starkville. Jackson Bristows, a freshman, one of the top players in the country, showed up this past weekend. He was 94, 95, touching 96 with an 88-mile-an-hour slider, which is pretty impressive. We have Cade Smith from Mississippi, who's a really good arm, who's been pitching for us. We have a big left-hander, Dylan Carmouche, out of Baton Rouge. Very rarely do we get players out of Baton Rouge. And Mikey Tepper, the number 1 pitcher out of South Carolina, who's also mid-90s, for us. And then we have some special kids, some position players across the state. Kellum Clark was a kid who actually from Brandon, who wrote a letter to Major League Baseball and asked not to draft him that I was going to school. So he had an opportunity to, he's got an opportunity to come in and play. Lane Forsythe is another infielder who's got a chance to come in and play for us. But we're excited about our incoming group. Our assistant coaches, Jake Gautreaux, Scott Foxhall, Kyle Cheesebro, they do an unbelievable job in the recruiting. And it's amazing. We're having to do our recruiting like I'm doing this talk today. And it's to convince kids to be able to come and play here at Mississippi State. It's just I guess in our case, it's easier if you have to do it this way because you have a place called The Dude, and you got a lot of videos on YouTube and everything else that they can watch. But it's been hard not being able to get kids here, but they've still persevered. We have in our, it's hard to imagine, but we're recruiting kids that are 8th grade in high school right now. So for us, we have 5 active recruiting classes that we're working through. We're trying to build upon during that time. So it's, it's a challenge, but it's something we're able to do. We have a lot of great contacts. There's so many Mississippi State players out there across the state, across the Southeast, across the country that are coaching or scouting or whatever it may be that we lean on during these times to help us out and as we work. Our team right now, as I was going to go into our team and talk a little bit about our ball club and where we're at. I guess preseason rankings don't matter much, but we've been probably anywhere from 6 to 10 across the country. It's our division or our league. I think we had 9 teams in our league in the top 25 the other day, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then if you take the league and split it in half into the West, I think almost everybody in the West has been ranked at some point. So it's a league of no mercy, like Coach Gautreaux talks about all the time. It never gets easy for us as we're battling through and trying to fight through this league. But it's exciting. It's what you sign up for when you come and want to play at Mississippi State, which I think is a real honor to be able to be here. Our schedule, though, we have in 2 weeks. We fly out on Thursday out of Memphis. we head to Dallas, Texas. We play in the State Farm Classic, which is at Globe Life Field there in Dallas, the brand new Rangers ballpark. And in that tournament, I think every team is in the top 12 in the country. So we have the SEC side, which is us, Ole Miss, and Arkansas, which is kind of strange that we're all on the same team because we're probably three of the biggest rivals right there all together. So we usually don't like each other, and then all of a sudden for a weekend we're playing for the same team. And then we play. Our schedule is we play on Friday morning. We play Texas. Saturday morning we play TCU, and on Sunday we play Texas Tech. And like I said, everybody is ranked within the top 12 teams in the country. So we haven't played for about a year and a half, and we're having opening day, and then you got to play against the best teams in the country. I think the pitcher we're facing for Texas is projected in the top 10 picks and is a projected, All-American. He's a preseason All-American at this point. So it'll be a interesting dynamic. And then we have the opportunity to play. We're probably not playing as far away. That's only the one we really get out and play far away on. Our schedule got posted about 2 weeks ago. We knew our schedule probably about 17 or 18 days ago. We haven't even had a schedule the entire year. COVID's, a big part of what we're able to do and where we're able to go. And a lot of it's local. A lot of it's at home. We were originally supposed to go play in Biloxi. We had to bring all those teams here to Starkville. We're playing Southern Miss in Jackson, so we still have our Southern Miss game there in Jackson, but we don't have the Governor's Cup this year. We'll play it again next year as long as everything gets back to normal of where we're at. But we play a lot of our games here at home this year, not too much travel, just because of the COVID piece. And we do have a couple teams coming. We have Tulane coming in week 2. We have Eastern Michigan coming in week 3. Or maybe Tennessee Tech and Eastern Michigan, vice versa. But we have some teams coming into play here. And hopefully as time goes on, we're at, 25% capacity right now. But as time goes on, hopefully that'll get moved forward and be able to get that dude packed again as we're playing and moving. Our SEC schedule is obviously, the LSUs. I think out of conference we're playing out of our division. We have Kentucky and Missouri on that other side, besides our other ones in our league, in our division. So it gives us a pretty good thing. Our team, like I said, man, we got a good group. We have some experience. We have, as people talk about us right now, they brag on our pitching staff when pro scouts are in here. We had over 40 scouts in here this past weekend to watch our Friday scrimmage and to watch us play and do. So there's obviously some talent there that we have, and a lot of it's getting focused on our mound. I really like our pitching staff. We have some really talented players on our pitching staff in our rotation, but right now our rotation is, I think we've thrown 9 pitches in SEC games. So we have great talent. They do have some experience, but the SEC experience is not there, what you'd like to see in the past, but it's just because of the situation that we're in. Christian McLeod is a left-handed pitcher, pitched on Friday night for us last year, was the National Freshman of the Year. Very talented ball player. Will Bednar is a very talented ball player. He's a sophomore here. He was pitching on the weekends for us last year. Mid-90s right-handed pitcher, very competitive, good slider. And then, Eric Sarantola is out there for us too in our weekend. And he's pitched, he's probably pitched as much. He's the guy with the 9 pitches, I think, in the SEC. But and then we have some other starter candidates. Houston Harding for us has been really good lately in our scrimmages, and Cam Tuller's a left-handed pitcher, a junior college player who came in, who has pitched really well. And then plus some of those young new guys that we had in the, I talked about earlier, Jackson Fristow, who's pitched really well, has a chance. So we have probably 6 or 7 starter candidates. And then it's the depth of our pitching staff. Maybe in a COVID year, the depth is really important. Probably wish we had a little more depth in our offensive side and had a little more balance. But the way COVID hit, we just ended up with more on the pitching side. But I think if you go back this entire year, we've had 15 guys touch 95 or higher. Now, the velo in the game is a lot higher, the way these guys are trained. But it's kind of hard what you wish for. We've been really good on the mound. And then we had a no-hitter in our scrimmage yesterday, which I don't think is really good. So it's good if you have those pitchers on your side, but you're starting to evaluate your hitters, trying to figure out where you're at. But we have some big bullpen pieces. Spencer Price has been here for a long time. He was finishing out the year last year as our closer. Riley Self is an older player who pitched really well for us last year in a good role. And then we have some, neat pieces in that Landon Sims is an X factor for us. He's a really talented right-handed pitcher, has a chance to pitch for us, and then a lot for us. Parker Stinnett, so right-hander from Oxford, really good velo, really got a chance. Brandon Smith, a right-hander from the Jackson area, had Tommy John last year, was one of our projected weekend starters, and now he's back and pitching as good as maybe I've ever seen him. And I think his velo and stuff will grow as time goes on. So, and then, like I said, it's just we have so many different options there, for our ball club to be able to compete and have success. And then offensively, as you look around our ball club, the one thing COVID did is in a normal year, Rowdy Jordan, who's played a lot of baseball here, Tanner Allen, and Josh Hatcher were probably three guys that would not be back with us. And fortunately, I guess if you're not going to sign, at least they have eligibility to come back and play for us. These three guys are right in the middle of our lineup. They are very special players, but more importantly, to have experience that's played in Omaha, that's played in super regionals, that's gone through the SEC grind has been, really big for us in that world. So having those three guys back just to lead. And I think as we started earlier, we're talking about Tom Brady, and it's pretty amazing what Tom Brady has done and what he brings to the clubhouse. And I was watching, I think it was the Today Show this morning, and Nadakaheem Sue was talking about the speech that Brady gave last night in the clubhouse before the game, and what an honor it was to go take the field and compete. And, we have a little bit of that back when we get those guys in our clubhouse. That piece of guys that have been there and done that is huge. And you can't coach that. It's just experiences they've gone through. And our group's gone through some tough times, and then they've had a chance to go through a lot of great times too. So it's exciting for them. We got a couple other kids. We feel like some of our sophomore players are going to jump out and really have great years. Cameron James has had a really good preseason at shortstop. Talented ball player. He was our third baseman last year, but he's kind of in that mold of a Jordan Westberg, big, athletic shortstop that can move around a little bit. Logan Tanner's our catcher, and Logan Tanner is he's probably as good of a throwing catcher as you'll find in college baseball, and has a chance to be a big-time offensive player. Still figuring it out, but having a chance to be able to jump out there and play. We brought in a grad transfer, which is kind of rare for us, but Scotty DeBrule was a kid who graduated Jacksonville University, was a 4-year starter, hit over 300 every year, played in the Cape Cod League, had an opportunity to pick up Scotty, who'll come in and probably solidify second base for us a little bit. A really good defender, really good athlete, kind of can do a lot of different things, but has played a lot of college baseball. And so we're excited, to have him back. And then we have to figure out our positions that we're trying to figure out right now are third base is a position that we have a little battle going on with Landon Jordan and Kellum Clark and Tanner Leggett. We just have some different guys fighting a position there. And same with left field for us. I mean, left field for us is probably going to be some type of rotation, matching up right-handed hitters, left-handed hitters, and doing some things that way so guys can figure out where we're at. But, the biggest thing for us is, staying healthy and fighting these obstacles of going through the spring training and going through getting on the road and traveling. I keep telling our coaches I'm more nervous about our COVID test on Monday morning when we get back from Dallas, to make sure we all did it the right way and we got back. And, we have to have multiple buses and doing different things as we travel and fly out there. Keeping our team healthy is a big piece during this time. And then being able to get out there and compete and play the Mississippi State way, which we take a lot of pride in playing the game the right way, playing the game hard. And, we understand what it means to play and coach for Mississippi State. So, I feel like I talked a ton and probably too fast when you're just talking. You're the only one talking at a time. But I wanted to open it up and see. Usually people have a good many of questions or comments or anything. And like I said, I'll take anything that you guys got.
Coach, if you were going to talk about your culture at Mississippi State and the values that you think distinguish your program, perhaps from the vantage point of a coach talking to a recruit, what would you tell that recruit or his parents?
Well, I tell our families all the time, ours is, and I know a lot of coaches say this, it's coach speak, but ours is about the player development. And they always think I'm talking about baseball. It's just about baseball. And I tell them every time, it's not about baseball. It's about how they act, how they live on their own, how they treat people, how they're doing academically. This development piece of being away for the first time is, we're trying to make them a better player for the 3 or 4 years that we have them, but also a better man. And I tell every parent, we're going to coach your son very hard. We take his development very personal, but we're also going to love him and we're going to respect him. And when he looks back at this time of life, hopefully this is an experience that was the greatest time of my life. And so, our culture is, of our kids want to play in the big leagues. When you go to Mississippi State, and I know they have to get degrees and everything else, and the degree is a big piece, but that's a piece of their development that's very big to them. And I think with our coaches and our staff, constantly being, and I'm very real with them. I have an open office policy. And right now, as we get close to the season, can you imagine? I got the biggest roster ever. For me, our culture of keeping our kids bought in and keeping our kids locked into our being ready to play, even though they may not make the trip to Dallas and we come home and play on Tuesday and they have to play. The dynamic ahead of us is huge. So they need to know they have value in our program. Anybody else?
Hey, Coach, it's David. Appreciate you being here. What do you think contributes to the success, not just at Mississippi State, where it's more historic than other universities, but Ole Miss, Southern, Delta State? I mean, even some of the smaller schools. You look across this state, and you see such a strong history of baseball. What do you contribute that to?
I contribute it to the fan bases. And really, if you go back, and they dropped probably the godfather of college baseball right in the middle of it about 30 years ago. So we got Coach Polk back on campus, but I think he brought a culture to our state. I know Booth Harris was, there's some great coaches that came through this state, and the fans, we don't have professional athletics here. Professional sports. So they gravitated to the universities, and then the baseball piece exploded. And I think as you see that, I don't think there's another state in the country. We're always fighting. Hey, we got the best fan base, or they, it's us or Ole Miss or and it's everything right here in a little triangle of who supports college baseball. And I think it's really pretty cool. Like you said, if we go play in Jackson, it's sold out. If we play in Biloxi, it's sold out. If we play in Oxford, it's sold out. Southern, everywhere we go, I think that, because so many of my guys talk about, well, Coach, when I was younger, I'd sit out in the left field lounge, or the kids grow up in these communities with baseball being such a big sport in this state. It's a really good point.
We have an online question. It says, Coach, I see a banner hanging over your door with the iconic baseball M over S with the football throwback flying M below it. Is that perhaps foreshadowing of a possible crossover baseball uniform for the coming season?
No, it's not. It was given to me as a gift, and I put it up. It just has all our old logos. We do have a new uniform coming out this year that I think our fans will like. We went a little bit old school, but we try to use the same branding, for everything that we do. So our branding is, that M over S means, as I talk to recruits, nobody else on campus wears the M over S but the baseball team, and it's pretty special. And then we will wear the Mississippi State 85 that Palmero and Clark and all those guys wore, and then we'll wear the state script sometimes, that goes across, but kind of the baseball. My coaches probably get on to me and my players. I'm not too fancy with uniforms. I want a classic look. I want, when you cut on the TV, you say, hey, that's Mississippi State. And so we're throwing some more pinstripes in this year, some of the old school look, but no more logos.
We have some more online questions from Robin. Coach, how do you start evaluating 8th grade recruits? How do you start identifying talent early?
When you look up at there's obviously going to be some mistakes when you're recruiting kids that young. Usually when you're Mississippi State or a school like that, and you sign a kid who's an eighth grade recruit, he's just crazy advanced over everybody else. I mean, we ended up a couple years ago with a hitter who was 6'3" when he was in the 8th grade and left-hand, and he just could really hit. And he's, there's just different guys that you can really tell. I had a kid, my very first young kid was a freshman, so he wasn't an 8th grader, but his name was Jordan Adele. And he looked like an NFL running back when he was as a freshman. And he ended up being, I think, the 6th pick of the draft. And is one of the top prospects in baseball right now. So it's not easy, but as the recruiting goes, it's just crazy in our sport how early it is, and it's happening all over the country.
That was actually from Alan. I do have Robin's question here. He said, what are the seating restrictions currently at Dudy Noble this season?
Well, I think it's 25% capacity right now. I don't know how they're doing it in every spot, or they're out there every day. I mean, my entire practice, there's people marking off seats and marking out seats, and I mean, the amount of hours spent out there trying to figure it out. So it's 25% capacity right now. Hopefully in time, if vaccines go out and the weather gets warm and this thing gets better, then, hopefully it gets taken off a little bit. It was encouraging to watch the Super Bowl last night. I was telling my wife, we got a full college football season in. We got a full NFL season in. We're in the middle. College basketball's been a little bit tougher, but it's an inside sport. And I'm hoping we can get a full college baseball season in. It'd mean a lot to all of us. I feel bad for our kids because in football, if you miss a year, they'll still draft you in the first round as a 25-year-old. If you're old in baseball, then you just stop getting paid. They'll draft you, but they're not going to pay you. So, giving these kids an opportunity to play the game they love and, take advantage of their time frame of their careers is going to be huge.
Coach, Coach, BB Hosh in Tupelo. Congratulations to you. We're mighty proud of you and look forward to the season. You play in one of the top facilities in the country. Bear Bryant used to say that you got to get a team calm down and heartbeats all together to get them to function. I read in the first regional that we hosted that Jake Mangum came back to the dugout and told him that the ground was shaking at home plate. It's obviously a plus, but I guess when you got a rookie that's never experienced that before, what are the dynamics that you have to get these kids ready for to go out and perform in an environment like that?
Yeah, we've been talking about it the last couple of days because we have a lot of new kids, and we're going to go to Dallas and play in that park. They're going to have 10 or 15,000 there. And, we talk about playing free, being able to relax, be in the moment, be present, and be free instead of being overly excited or nervous. All the time I ask the kids, hey, if you don't like playing in front of a lot of people, don't come here because we have a lot of people at the ballpark. But they all say, no, Coach, I'm never nervous. But I know that's not true. They're all nervous. I'm nervous still when I still walk out there. I know my first game here when I walk through the door and you walk out and the grills are smoking and you got goosebumps and butterflies and you're walking out and meeting Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro. I wasn't even thinking about the game, and for us being able to it's part of the process of just learning to play here. We ran out Landon Sims, who is one of my top pitchers, if not top, last year on opening day, and he almost blew the game. He walked the bases loaded and we had to get him out. And I ran him back out on Sunday and he got the save and struck out the side, I think, which is just being a freshman trying to throw too hard and too amped up, like you said. And so, playing in those environments is huge for us to do it more and more. And once you become a player here and over time, Jake Mangum, he loved it. I mean, it was that guy, the bigger the crowd, the better he played, it seemed like. And that's the type of kids you want here, that real tough-nosed kid.
We've got a couple more online questions. What is Sarantola hitting on the radar gun? And can you tell us a couple of players to watch out for this year who may potentially make a big jump?
Sarantola, like this weekend was probably 94, 96. I think he touched 97. Pitched really well. His is about, pounding the strike zone, which he has done this preseason in the fall. He was very good in the strike zone. And we're playing it's 45-degree weather too. So I'd like to think our kids, as time goes, have the ability to throw a little harder, do a little more. Players that you don't know of, we have a new outfielder, Braylon Skinner, who has a chance to be a really special player for us. he was a junior college player from here in the state, but he's got a chance to be a dynamic player and really help us out. I think, Kellum Clark, I spoke about earlier, has a chance. And then we just have a handful of arms that got a chance to help us. We have a kid, Furman University dropped their program last summer because of the COVID, and we picked up their Friday night starter, Stone Simmons, who's had a good, year with us, a big 6'5" right-handed pitcher who's going to be in the 90s, pitching, but really knows how to pitch and compete. So those are a couple guys that you can look forward to. But we have, like I said, we have half our team is new because this whole COVID thing. So it's a lot of new guys, and getting them out there and getting opportunities is going to be fun to watch.
We have one more online from Rob Rice. As a graduate of the Citadel, what did that historic institution contribute to your life, and how does that impact you as a coach today?
The neat part about my time at the Citadel is I didn't know anything about it. I moved from Houston, Texas to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina late in my high school career. My high school coach actually was a Citadel grad. So, he's the one who kind of got me down there. They had put my application in, and I got an engineering scholarship. My dad was an engineer at State, which Tom had mentioned earlier. So I had an engineering scholarship, and 3 weeks in, I had to call my dad and tell my dad, I said, "Dad, I don't want to be an engineer." And he was, he was upset. One, he wanted me to be an engineer, but two, he didn't want to give back the scholarship, which he had to do at the time for being an engineer. And then I told him I wanted to be a baseball coach. So I went from EE to PE. Wasn't very happy. The funny thing is now is my dad, he doesn't miss a game. So he's at the ballpark every time, asking about the team, what the team's doing. I said, "Dad, if I was an engineer, you'd be bored to death in retirement." So he's really enjoyed it. But, I get to the Citadel, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't really know much about it. I had no military background. And then, man, we call it our group of pals, but my best friends for life. I mean, we're, that group and that discipline, that it made us just so much closer than probably if I went to a regular university. I mean, there you show up, you shave your head, you walk in the gutter. The military discipline, I'm probably overly organized right now as a coach, just making sure our team knows what and when and everything else. But my group of pals that we were the only military school to have ever been in Omaha and play in the College World Series in 1990, same year Mississippi State was there. And my path wasn't easy. My first couple of years I went there, I didn't play and had to persevere, and then became a player. And then I had an opportunity to coach there. And it was a pretty neat transition. I went to Citadel. My best friend and college roommates, Dan McDonald, he's the head coach at University of Louisville. Our other infielder, our third baseman, Tony Scholes, now the head coach at the Citadel. So we have a really pretty close clique there. And we're pretty close and being able to lean on each other during this process. So the Citadel is a special place for me. We still love to get back to Charleston and we're trying to get over there and play here in the next year or so. But I would have never thought it, but it ended up being probably the best decision of my life.
What position did you play, Coach?
I hit. So they tried to hide me on defense. So I played first one year, then I played right field another, and then I played first my last year. So I was a good offensive player. In the first 2 years, I couldn't get on the field because I wasn't a good defender. They tried to put the big guy behind the plate, and I wasn't a good catcher. They tried to move me everywhere, but I could hit. And so usually they say if you hit, you find a spot, and that's kind of what happened for me over time. But I really struggled defensively. So early in my career, it was a million ground balls, and just to be able to get me on the field. And I'm giving the same speech to my guys. So, the guys that I'm looking at playing that opening weekend are guys who don't kill us on defense. The way we pitch, we should, we got a chance to really stuff you and hold you down. But I walked on at the Citadel. I tell this story to my team all the time. I walked in the first day with my dad. I got my bags. I got everything. You walk into the locker room. Everybody's got a nameplate, and I don't see my nameplate. I'm like, man, I'm on the team. And they said, no, there's more lockers in the back. And we go in the back, and it's the showers and the urinals and the toilets, and down the wall was some more lockers. And I kept walking, and I was the very last locker. And when I sat in my locker, I could look right into the toilet. And my dad, which was still cracks me up to this day, he said, "Hey, nowhere to go but up." And I said, "Yeah, you're right about that." And so it was because I have walk-ons and I have I have first-round kids. JT again turned down the first round and came to school here. And then I have a kid who walked on, and the journey's not the same for everybody. But, I walked it. I did it. I caught the bullpen probably my first 2 years. I was the bullpen catcher and had to fight my way up. But I learned a lot in the process that helps me as a coach. And I played for a Hall of Fame coach, Chow Port. Very tough, hard-minded coach, but really knew the game and really knew how to push us to become great. So I was fortunate there.
Coach, thank you for being with us. My name is Jeff Mitchell. This question pretty much pertains to the entire Southeastern Conference and diversity and issues or anything. Is there something, any issues going on with that topic?
No, I don't think so. I think, we saw a lot in the fall, and going to the State House and getting some of that stuff changed. I think it's acclimated pretty well. It's still an initiative here in a lot of ways. I mean, we're, so many different walks of life here on the college campus. So, but it hasn't been an issue here at all.
Okay, any more questions for Coach? Okay, well, Coach, thank you. Next time we want to do this in person, okay?
Sounds good. I hope it was informative for you all, and thank you all for y'all's service. I know we appreciate always the Rotaries and everything. So y'all take care, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll see you at the Dude soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it very much.